I didn't have a life. I was basically, my life was being run for me. I didn't have the initiative or the willpower to lead a life. I didn't go out, I just stayed at home, didn't mix with people. I felt worthless.
From being punched in the head, black eyes and being strangled, being headbutted, being kicked, and just waking up in the mornings absolutely sore and covered in bruises.
There was one woman who came to the refuge. It was a woman who was in her 60s, and she came to the refuge with a plastic bag with a toothbrush, a nightdress and her toothpaste in it, and came to the refuge and she said, "I believe you can help me." And that is the levels of support that people have to go looking for, that they stand at a refuge gate trying to access support and information. So we would like people to know that there is help available, there is support available, and that staff are here to respond, to be non-judgmental and to listen to women so that they can tell their story and can make choices that will keep them safer in their lives.
Well, whenever I first came here, I was lucky getting in through the door.
It wasn't good. I never went out of the house, you know. I was just like isolated on my own, no friends, no help or nothing.
You didn't know, because it was so emotional. You didn't feel as if you weren't beat black and blue, so you didn't know whether you should go to Women's Aid. But because it was emotional abuse, I was totally isolated. I got to a stage where I felt as if I had mental problems and didn't know whether to believe the things that he was accusing me of. So I didn't know whether I was doing things or whether he was making it all up. So I didn't know where I was mentally.
Domestic violence is not just physical abuse. Women are abused in various ways, and women do talk about the emotional abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. That is actually harder to live with and harder to recognise. It is also harder to talk about. In a relationship where someone is frightened of someone else, then that is abusive.
It's turned my life around. Was put into the refuge in Ballymena, Women's Aid, and they've just helped me with absolutely everything. They've given me a lot more confidence, self-esteem's up again, and yeah, they're brilliant.
We were given opportunity, funded by JTI, to work with the Ulster Orchestra. This was to give women a voice in talking about their experiences of domestic abuse, and the film Don't Silence the Violence was created. The Ulster Orchestra actually composed original music that was set to the thoughts, the feelings and the behaviours that the women talked to them about. So the women came together with the Ulster Orchestra and the filmmaker, and they worked tirelessly and were very committed to making the film Don't Silence the Violence.
I'm Sam and I'm the principal percussionist with the Ulster Orchestra, and in 2013 we were approached by Women's Aid, funded by JTI, to take part in a project with some of their service users. And the premise of the project was to create a soundtrack to the film Don't Silence the Violence. And through a series of workshops and sessions that we spent together, we wanted to enable the women to have a musical vocabulary to create a soundtrack that was very much theirs, and that it expressed all the feelings and the messages that they wanted to have.
It's brought music back into my life again, and music is so healing. It is a therapy, really. It was really helpful to see the way that the three gentlemen, or there were four gentlemen that day, really listened and took on board what we were saying, and their reaction, it was so clear that what we were talking about was so far outside of their realm of experience.
It was absolutely brilliant. I actually can't find the words for it because it was something I hadn't experienced before, and to actually see that music can help.
I mean, when it first came, I was a bit like worried and nervous, what's going to happen, but I really did enjoy it, playing the instruments and learning about music and going to the Ulster Hall. So it was, because I've never been to anything like that before, and I really, really enjoyed it.
And it's been an incredible journey and very powerful subject matter, which has been challenging for both myself and the service users to come to terms with. But what we wanted was the soundtrack that would really say their message, because the soundtrack is their voice, and I think their message is very, very profound.
We looked at all the different ways that we could use sound and music to heighten the emotion of a film. So not just a soundtrack, not just the music playing along in the background, but sound effects. You see in the film the percussive effects of the belt being taken off, and the window blind being moved, and even direct sound effects, so the clock ticking. As well as a new piece of music written using the emotions of the women involved. Just about to start marking it up for conducting the sessions. Reminding myself to bring in percussion. And broken it down into chapters, so here's the first caption to make sure I'm in the right place with the film. There's chapter 4 about apologies, hollow apologies.
It was really helpful to be able to see the things that we talked about on screen when Joe came, and we talked about images that sort of stayed with us. The next time Joe came back, they were there on screen.
You were coming away thinking, my goodness, I never thought I would ever be able to do that. It just was amazing. And it gave you such a lift to say, I can do this. So if you can do that, you can do anything really. It just gives you that confidence in yourself. And it grows. Every time you come, it grows and grows.
But as the weeks went on, I really enjoyed it. I found my confidence grew as the music workshops went, and it was great to see the way the guys sort of listened to our ideas and transformed them.
And having the interaction with you guys, explain it, just show us how the music works. And to this day, music doesn't have the same, just that it's in the background or whatever. I'm listening to things, I'm listening to the words, I'm remembering things that we did in those groups. It's changed my life.
During the sessions that we spent with the women, we discussed a lot of emotion, we talked about experiences, and we tried to come up with a framework for the soundtrack that would really say what they wanted it to say.
At the start, we done a lot of flip charts with our music sessions and how our feelings were, and there was a lot of us where how we felt as we were going through a maybe violent thing, and how our heartbeats were getting faster and how it was sort of silent as the things were going on, as if it was an out-of-body experience.
And during that process, which was very difficult at times, a lot of people opening up about things I wasn't expecting and never even heard being discussed before, and coming in from an outside perspective, and as a man, that was quite an extraordinary experience.
Very proud to have been part of it. The hairs in the neck were sort of standing up, and you felt really, very emotional to watch it. And amazed to see the sort of, the way everybody else responded to it whenever they first seen it. I'm very proud then to have been a part of it.
Well, this has been some journey for myself, involved in the project with Women's Aid as a composer, trying to help them create a soundtrack for a very personal film. The prevalence of domestic abuse, and it's just so widespread, and of course logically I know that domestic abuse happens, but to hear statistics like 1 in 4 women will experience domestic abuse, it kind of brings it home as to how serious the problem has been and is. So take this hall, for example, and it seats about 1,100 people. And for the sake of argument, we'll say that half of those are women. And again, for the sake of argument, we'll say that that means 100 people within this hall would have some experience of domestic violence. Would never have thought of that. You'd never look out into the audience and think 100 people in this audience have experienced domestic violence. Or look around the orchestra and see 5 or 6 people. I mean,
I think living with abuse is obviously very, very difficult, and women access and support has to be when they feel ready, when they get an opportunity, when they find a safe time to actually make that phone call or call into the centre. And we have women coming to the centre to do group work, to go to the Journey to Freedom classes, to the My Life, My Choices classes, and they access support through group work maybe initially. They maybe come to the Reconnect, and that's developing their social skills, promoting their self-esteem, building confidence, where they come in and they meet other women, they hear other women's stories, and they actually recognise for themselves that they're not alone, and they don't have to be alone because there's other people here to listen to them and to support them.
That you don't have to put up with it. There is help out there, and Women's Aid do an awful lot of work and can help, no matter what your situation is. Whether you're still in that situation, or whether you're wanting out of it, or whether you are out of it.
Just starting to get life back on track. There's a lot more support than I thought there'd be. My husband had always told me that I couldn't do things without him, but I can, and I have, and I'm here. And